Amazing transformation. Federal attorney exposed as grocery store hero after $2 million fine revealed. Sara Dawson stared at the legal documents spread across her cluttered desk, the fluorescent lights illuminating the unyielding lines of text. The case against BigCo Groceries throbbed in her mind, a relentless pulse reminding her of the $2 million fine looming over the corporate giant, like an angry storm cloud. Yet amidst the palpable urgency, doubt coiled in her stomach. Was it worth risking everything she'd built for a community that felt so distant? Her mother's fading health loomed larger every day, an ever-present reminder of responsibilities that gnawed at her ambitions. The whispers of promotion danced like will-o'-the-wisps in her mind, promising success and financial security. She felt their seductive pull, the potential triumphs that could define her career. But the cost was steep, turning her back on the heart of Maplewood, on the people she'd grown up with, the neighbors who trusted her to champion their lives in a way that transcended the courtroom battles. She had often vowed to protect the community as her mother had taught her after losing her father too soon. This split loyalty gnawed at her. Would she stand for justice or bask in the empty accolades of the corporate ladder? Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. That morning, she took a daring breath, plotting to infiltrate BigCo as a cashier. Each shift peeled away layers of the polished facade she'd seen from outside the courthouse. The customer smiled with trust, oblivious to the turmoil festering behind the corporate curtain. Working alongside employees who wore weary smiles, she overheard their stories. Families struggling to make ends meet while corporate greed gnawed at their livelihoods. Here she was no longer an attorney. She felt intertwined with their hopes and fears, carrying their burdens as much as her own. Internal conflict churned within her as she witnessed the unethical practices firsthand. A fire of determination ignited. She couldn't just observe. But each revelation deepened her anguish, intertwining her identity with theirs while accolades dangled tantalizingly just out of reach. Unbeknownst to her, the powerful executives weren't blind to her growing resolve. Shadows tightened around her. Whispers of threats floated through her mind like a heavy fog. Nights spent sifting through documents felt more like traversing a treacherous maze. Each new discovery unveiled alarming parallels to her own family history, bringing a heart-wrenching dread that threatened to shatter her. She no longer saw only BigCo's sinister maneuvering. She began confronting her internal fears. What sacrifices had she made, and at what cost? Would exposing the truth mean losing herself in the very community she fought to protect? Arriving at the grocery store one afternoon, the familiar ring of the cash register now served as a cacophony of impending confrontation. Standing at the entrance, she grasped a packed shopping cart, her heart racing as racing thoughts sanctioned a war waging inside. She sensed the weight of justice pressing down upon her, ready to unleash chaos on the corporate hierarchy. Today could alter everything, a line drawn between career ambition and community trust. Sara's breath caught in her throat as she prepared to confront her superiors. The stakes had never been higher. Would this ledge of confrontation yield the change she envisioned, or plunge her deeper into silence? The weight of her moral compass quivered, and at that moment the truth hung in the balance, waiting for her choice to unravel in an uncertain future. The fluorescent lights flickered above her, casting erratic shadows as Sara stepped deeper into the grocery store's narrow aisles. The mundane atmosphere felt charged, infused with her racing thoughts and unsettled resolve. The vibrant produce, neatly stacked shelves and routine chatter of customers faded into the background, cocooned by the looming confrontation that awaited her. Today she could no longer play the role of a passive observer. Instead, she had to wield her knowledge as a weapon against the forces she knew all too well were shrouded in cluttered legalities and corporate deceit. As she approached the manager's office, her pulse quickened, a pounding reminder of everything she stood to lose. It wasn't just her position at the law firm. It was the trust of the community she had swore to protect. The echo of her mother's voice rang in her ears, urging her to seek justice in a world often indifferent to suffering. Had she lost sight of that? Was she bargaining her integrity for the prestige of a promotion? The walls of ambition now felt more like a prison than a path to success. Pushing through the door, she found herself face to face with Mr. Jenkins, the store manager, whose eyes twinkled with a deceptive veneer of warmth. He greeted her with a hint of surprise, unaware of the storm brewing within her. "Sara, didn't expect to see you here. How's everything going?" His tone was casual yet glimmered with an undertone of tension. Her voice cracked, but she steeled herself. "We need to talk about the irregularities happening here, Jenkins. Customers are being overcharged, promotions are misleading, and the accounting discrepancies." "Now hold on a minute," he interrupted, feigning concern, yet the weight of his stature seemed to shrink. "You don't want to get caught up in these matters. Corporate will handle it. Focus on your work here, and the job will take care of itself." Sara's hands trembled, not from fear but from the enormity of her determination. "No, I'm not backing down. I have evidence that could lead to serious consequences for BigCo, and for you. This isn't just about me, it's about what's right." His expression hardened, a calculated mask slipping into place. "You don't know what you're tampering with. You're risking your entire career to fight for a few cents. People around here are trying to survive. You'll destroy lives if you expose this." His words struck like arrows, piercing through her resolve. But they also ignited a fire within her. The realization that fear had coiled around her consciousness, whispering temptations of silence. "I won't let fear dictate my choices anymore. The people here, they trust me. My duty is to them." Jenkins leaned back, a smirk creeping onto his face. "You have no idea what corporate is capable of. You may find they won't take too kindly to your interference." A shiver ran down her spine, but for the first time, Sara felt clarity. She wouldn't cower before threats. The days spent as a cashier had transformed her. Now she understood what was at stake, not just in terms of her career but her very identity. As she left the office, the adrenaline surged through her veins, pushing her toward the next step. She would not stop until she unearthed the truth hidden beneath the surface, regardless of the cost. Outside, the cool air hit her like a wave, refreshing yet electric with possibility. She would lean into this transformation, embracing the attorney she was becoming while honoring the roots that grounded her in integrity. But for now, she had to devise a plan that would protect those who had put their faith in her. The challenge ahead of her loomed larger than the shadows of her doubt, and the moment of reckoning with BigCo felt imminent. As her mind raced with strategies, one thought crystallized. The time had come to face the giant. What could she uncover next that would shake the foundations of BigCo? And would her resolve hold as the storm of confrontation approached? Just outside the grocery store, Sara stood still for a moment, inhaling the sharp, crisp air that contrasted with the stuffy confines of Jenkins's office. The weight of her resolve pressed against her chest like a shield, sturdy, yet heavy. Today was not merely about exposing fraudulent practices. Today marked the beginning of her transformation into an advocate, not just for the vulnerable consumers, but for herself in a system designed to stifle dissent. She hurried to her car, fingers flying over her phone as she made a mental checklist of everything she needed. The evidence she had gathered, bank statements, receipts, customer testimonies, would be the cornerstone of her case. She didn't just need to confront BigCo. She needed to build a bulletproof argument that illuminated their deceitful metrics. As she drove toward her office, she felt the adrenaline turning into focus. Each light in turn offered clarity, stripping away hesitation. The polished floors of the law firm would soon be filled with whispers of her actions, but the thought didn't terrify her as it once would have. Instead, it felt empowering. She was on the verge of challenging the very principles that had made her question her ethics for so long. Once seated at her desk, she spread out her documents. Names and figures floated in front of her, tangling in her mind like threads needing weaving into a coherent tapestry of justice. Retrieving her laptop, she began drafting a detailed memorandum outlining the illegalities she had uncovered. The more she typed, the clearer her purpose became. No longer was she an ambitious junior attorney. She was a bulwark against corruption. Each obstacle she identified fueled her resolve. Counter-arguments arose in her mind. What would Jenkins say? What about the legal backlash? She knew everything he suggested was aimed at frightening her into submission. But as she confronted those thoughts, they became less intimidating and more like stepping stones. Each question turned into a strategy. Each doubt converted into a plan of action. The hours flashed by as she lost herself in the work. In that fog of focus, she discovered a hidden strength in her ability to analyze and deconstruct arguments. Her background as a cashier had equipped her with insights into consumer behavior, and while previously this felt trivial, now it was a valuable asset. Understanding the cash flow dynamics could help her illustrate the magnitude of BigCo's deceit. How simply, a few cents multiplied into insidious profit margins built on the backs of unsuspecting citizens. As the sun dipped below the skyline, an email alert chimed through the silence of her office. A notification from her bank. Another deposit had come through, bolstering her savings. In that moment, the juxtaposition of her two lives struck her. The shoe from the grocery aisles working tirelessly to make ends meet, and the potential Sara the attorney, staking her future on a fight for integrity. But a familiar voice crept back in, once more echoing through her mind, warning her of the consequences. The fear of failure tangled with her newfound courage, creating a web of confusion. What had she truly sacrificed in this battle? Determined not to let uncertainty stall her progress, she closed her laptop and took a deep breath. Tomorrow she would reach out to the customers she had befriended, the very people who cared about their shopping experience as she did. She would gather testimonies, clothing her intentions with sincerity. She would become their champion. No turning back from this pursuit. Tomorrow's task seemed daunting, but within her grew an undeniable strength. She could not walk away now. The rising sun promised confrontation. As the office emptied, Sara fixed her gaze on the horizon, a storm brewing within her and outside, an unstoppable force gathering speed. As she prepared to leave, her phone chimed again, an urgent email from her mentor filled with cryptic references to troubling intelligence about BigCo. What had they been hiding? And suddenly the stakes felt even higher. She just might be on the brink of uncovering something bigger than she had anticipated. What revelation would she face next? And who might be working against her in secret? The morning light spilled into Sara's office, illuminating the scattered documents that whispered of hidden truths. She had fallen asleep at her desk, her mind still racing with the implications of her mentor's email. The urgency of her situation hung heavily in the air as she brewed her morning coffee. The aroma both comforting and invigorating. She had committed herself to this path. Yet the fear of stepping into uncharted waters gnawed at her. The risk was palpable. The stakes higher than she'd ever faced before. Would gathering customer testimonies truly offer the compelling narrative she hoped, or would it lead to her undoing? The thought made her heart race. Still, she couldn't ignore the growing resolve within her. This was for more than just herself. It was for every customer who felt wronged. Arriving at the local coffee shop where she had arranged to meet some customers, Sara felt a shiver of vulnerability. Among them was Elise, a mother struggling to make ends meet, and Mark, a retired veteran, both of whom had often voiced their frustrations about the deceptive pricing. Having shared her own history with them, she knew their stories had power, and she intended to harness it. With nervous energy, she ordered a cup of coffee, her fingers trembling slightly on the counter as she paid. The caffeine coursing through her might calm her shakes, but it wouldn't erase the doubts lingering in her mind. What if these customers didn't trust her? What if they were afraid to speak out about BigCo? She settled into a corner table, heart racing as Elise and Mark approached. Their smiles were warm but tinged with the caution of past disappointments. After brief pleasantries, Sara launched into her purpose, explaining why she had reached out. Trust was fragile, but desperation often brought people together. As Sara listened, noting the pain in their voices, she found her footing. Elise recounted a traumatic experience when her groceries didn't match the prices advertised, and Mark described how escalating costs affected his ability to purchase medication. With every testimony, the frustrations transformed into a tangible force. They were no longer just stories. This was ammunition against the corporation that had exploited their trust. Each person had a unique tale, but all shared a common thread. Their challenge was more than financial. It was a matter of dignity. Sara felt the echo of those voices amplify within her, infusing her resolve with purpose. This wasn't merely about numbers and spreadsheets. It was about real lives impacted by corporate greed. The atmosphere in the room shifted as they finished sharing their experiences. Together, they began to outline a collective narrative, reinforcing Sara's initial instincts. Awareness sparked between their struggles. It validated her attempt to illuminate BigCo's dishonesty. For every incident documented, for every voice strengthened, she saw her case becoming more than a legal fight. It became a crusade for voices that had long been silenced. However, just as the embers of hope flickered brightly, the familiar anxiety crept back. They would be up against one of the largest corporations in the country, and the threat of retaliation loomed. What if BigCo attempted to discredit them? Would their stories hold up under scrutiny? As the conversation came to a close, Sara felt an overwhelming surge of determination mixed with a looming dread. Inspired and terrified at that moment, she realized this fight was transforming her too. She wasn't just representing customers, she was reclaiming her own path, to fight back, to stand for what was right. Later, as she sat in her office preparing her notes, a document caught her eye. It was a scanned report from a whistleblower inside BigCo. The revelations hinted at deeply entrenched corruption within corporate practices that went beyond pricing discrepancies, things she hadn't considered before. Just then, her phone buzzed. Another email entitled, "Your inquiry," from her mentor, offering a cryptic hint towards deeper investigations into BigCo. Sara's heart raced as she opened the message. It was clear now. The fight had just escalated. She was no longer just an attorney standing up to deceitful practices. She was on the verge of uncovering a vast conspiracy. What lay hidden beneath the surface? And how much was she willing to risk to expose it? Sara's pulse quickened as she absorbed the contents of her mentor's email. Typed words leapt from the screen, igniting a tumultuous storm of thought within her. This wasn't merely an invitation to dig deeper into BigCo's practices. It was an invitation to potentially unravel a deeply rooted conspiracy. A whisper of fear echoed in her mind as she pondered how raw and resolute she had become since embarking on this path. Was she truly prepared for what lay ahead? Rising from her desk, she paced her small office, grappling with the implications of each piece of information. The idea of corruption, the unmasking of deceit, it sounded monumental, but clarity was essential. Impulse had to give way to strategy. She needed a plan. Consulting the whistleblower's document again, she realized the importance of concrete evidence. If BigCo wielded influence and power, she needed to fortify her stance with verifiable data. Before she could linger too long in thought, Sara pulled out a notepad and began outlining key points to pursue. She knew customers' stories formed the backbone of her approach, bolstered by the leaked documents' revelations. Hours passed, each line etched with purpose. Only when darkness settled and the office lights flickered to life did Sara allow herself a moment to breathe. Yet a gnawing realization settled in. Time wasn't on her side. Next on her agenda was to confer with Elise and Mark again, but this time with a sharper focus. She needed to refine the narratives they shared. They had to resonate with undeniable truth. Together, they could construct a solid foundation for her legal findings, one that could withstand any attempt by BigCo to dismantle their credibility. The following morning, the trio reconvened at the coffee shop. The atmosphere buzzed with a sense of camaraderie and urgency. Sara opened the session with newfound determination. This meeting wasn't just about collecting testimonies. It was about collaboration, strategy, and activating their voices. Elise, emboldened by the prospect of confronting powerful foes, spoke first, outlining the financial implications of BigCo's deceit in her household. Mark followed suit, revealing how he had enlisted the help of other retirees, both in identification of unfair pricing and collection of personal anecdotes. With each exchange, Sara noticed the shift in their demeanor. They weren't just victims anymore. They were allies in the fight. As the discussion deepened, Sara leaned into her role, synthesizing their experiences into a narrative that was simultaneously personal and powerful. But beneath the surface of shared resolve, a creeping concern loomed. With each bold step they took, the awareness of retaliation from BigCo threatened to unravel their collective momentum. Exhausted yet invigorated, Sara returned to her office that evening, her mind racing with ideas and strategies. As she sifted through the documents once more, a particular passage in the whistleblower's report caught her attention. It hinted at a corporate cover-up of safety procedures related to the food supply chain. The implications were staggering. If this were true, it could represent a far-reaching risk to public health, amplifying her commitment to the case. But along with this discovery came an unsettling question. Should she include this unverified information in her arguments? The potential ramifications for her, Elise, and Mark weighed heavily. Would it yield potential leverage, or merely paint them further into a corner? Steeping in moral conflict, she grappled with the broader consequences this case could ignite. While uncertainties settled around her like shadows, one thing was clear. The deeper she delved, the more complex her battle became. Yet the stakes had never been higher, and each discovery pushed Sara closer to the precipice of not just legal victory, but personal evolution. Just as she sat in contemplation, a notification pinged on her phone. It was a message marked urgent from her mentor, one that promised further insights into BigCo, but also hinted at a potential connection to her investigation. Sara felt the tug of both foreboding and excitement. What were the new revelations, and how would they change the course of her fight? She hadn't simply stepped into uncharted waters, she was now navigating a tempest. What awaited her at the next turn? Sara hardly took a breath before she tore into the message. Her mentor's words unfurled before her like a dense fog lifting to reveal a hidden path. The email contained coordinates to an elusive source, said to have direct knowledge of BigCo's operations. Excitement imprisoned her thoughts momentarily, fueling the pulse of determination swirling in her chest. Yet amid the adrenaline rush, caution circled her mind. This could be dangerous, she realized. The discovery of safety procedure cover-ups was one thing. This felt like something else entirely. Dangerous territory that might expose her to the raw brutality of corporate retaliation. Navigating through her conflicting thoughts, Sara spent the night preparing. She pored over notes, cross-referencing them with the whistleblower's account, and worked to decipher which pieces might fit into the larger puzzle. It struck her as remarkable how each allegation from the document seemed to weave seamlessly with testimony she had gathered. Each thread of information, once fragile and spinning wildly in a breeze of anonymity, now held the weight of truth. She visualized a meeting where she would present her findings to her superiors. Not just a recounting of facts, but a well-crafted narrative, a tapestry of determination and resilience that would lead them toward accountability and justice. She sensed the words forming a bridge she dared to walk. This case wasn't mere statistics. It belonged to real people, their stories heavy with consequence. The next morning, after reviewing her game plan, Sara arranged to meet her mentor at a diner halfway between their offices. There was an abrupt contrast. Here, normalcy reigned with classic American diner fare, but the urgency of her mission felt like a siren song pulling her away from the usual routine. As she sat across from her mentor, the weight of both expectation and anxiety settled heavily on her shoulders. This meeting was crucial, the moment where theories transformed into action. As her mentor outlined the potential risks and strategies, Sara leaned into the discussion, her professional acumen igniting as she asked insightful questions. Each answer further ignited questions rooted in ethical dilemmas, internal complexities that blotted out the cheerful diner atmosphere. Soon, their conversation deepened into a strategy session about how to integrate the new information. Her mentor emphasized the importance of maintaining control, a delicate balance between assertiveness and prudence. With every piece of advice absorbed, Sara felt her confidence burgeon. This wasn't just about confronting BigCo, it was about reshaping the narrative altogether. As they sketched out a timeline for the presentation, Sara began to glimpse where she could fit in her own voice, a blend of her findings and the testimonies she had painstakingly collected. The excitement of seizing control over her destiny surged through her with optimism, But a nagging thought reminded her of the inherent risks. Was she prepared to take on a company that could crush dissent with calculated precision? After the meeting, she returned to her office with a resolve steeled against uncertainty. As she pored over the notes, invigorated by fresh insights, she remembered her allies, Elise and Mark. They were counting on her for more than just victory. They were looking to her for leadership. But this journey was far more than she had anticipated. It was not merely about unearthing a scandal. It was about her own transformation. Each piece of data gathered, each word spoken was refining her identity as an advocate, a force for justice. There was no way back now. As she stepped deeper into this reality, a thought rippled through her mind, nagging yet electric. Was she ready for the scrutiny that would surely come, and did she truly believe in the righteousness of her mission? Just then, an unexpected alert chimed on her phone. It was another message from her mentor, details of an upcoming public relations meeting by BigCo. This was no coincidence. This was her opportunity to gather intelligence. Sara's heart raced. She needed to decide quickly. Would she infiltrate the lion's den and gather evidence, or would she maintain a distance to keep herself safe? The urgency of her mission sharpened, and she could feel the ground shifting beneath her. The time had come to face the consequences of her relentless pursuit. In the haze of deliberation, Sara's mind raced as she weighed her options. Hours later, she found herself sitting in her car, parked inconspicuously across the street from BigCo's headquarters. Graffiti dotted the nearby walls, a dull reminder of struggles the city bore, much like the burdens she now carried. The juxtaposition of luxury vehicles gliding into the corporate compound contrasted sharply with her own modest sedan, the easy life of compliance against her burning pursuit of truth. Each employee who entered the building, briefcase in hand, felt like a pawn in a grander scheme. Yet she knew their lives were complicated stories waiting to be unraveled. Dread wove through her stomach. Could she really infiltrate this environment and remain undetected? The stakes had risen and doubt seeped into her confidence like cracks in a dam. Clenching her fists against the steering wheel, she felt the pervasive weight of her mission press down. She had rehearsed the narrative of her findings countless times, not just for her superiors, but now for herself. This journey was about loyalty, to her values, to those whose voices were silenced. Yet it risked a personal cost that gnawed at her gut. As she stepped out of the car, the sun cast long shadows across the pavement, almost signaling her impending confrontation with the corporate giant. Sara adjusted her blazer, a staple of her professional attire that now served as a cloak of armor. She took a deep breath, focusing her thoughts on the integrity of the mission. Safety procedures affected real lives, and she couldn't afford to view them as mere data points. They were flesh and blood testimonies of pain, neglect, and injustice. Inside the building, she navigated through an intricate web of familiar faces and sterile surroundings, her heart synchronized with the dull hum of fluorescent lights overhead. Each stride echoed with purpose as she approached the meeting room. The gathering buzzed with executives cloaked in tailored suits, discussing numbers and strategies, treating the ramifications of their policies as mere variables in a profit and loss statement. Sara slipped into an empty corner of the auditorium, the room pulsing with corporate bravado that felt suffocating yet invigorating. There, she observed a cocktail of confident posturing and disingenuous smiles, questioning who might hide a story, a truth beneath their polished exteriors. As the meeting unfolded, her attention snapped to the fluctuating tone of the spokesperson's voice when addressing safety compliance. Coded language wrapped around half-truths, evoking laughter and nods from the audience, but she remained alert, taking mental notes, feeding her resolve. Something didn't sit right. Then a revelation hit her. BigCo wouldn't simply sit idle while secrets circulated about their internal operations. They would retaliate. Her instincts screamed warnings as she recognized the possibility of their gaze shifting toward her, an insignificant yet potent catalyst stirring the waters of accountability. Would she be able to withstand the scrutiny? As she stealthily gathered insight, Sara felt a familiar pulse of determination surge through her. With each hesitation she witnessed from the executives, she felt empowered. If their facade could crack in front of her, whose else might do the same? This wasn't just about BigCo. It was about a movement she could spearhead. The meeting concluded and she stepped out into the cool evening air, her heart pounding with adrenaline. Each paddle of her thoughts now snapped into focus. Examining the data gathered from the meeting against her previous knowledge could unravel even greater truths. She could act, and this opportunity felt like a chess piece sliding perfectly into place. Just before she locked her car door, a message pinged on her phone. A news alert predicting looming changes within BigCo. An imminent investigation was rumored, and Sara realized she had to connect those dots. The clock was ticking fast, and she needed to act decisively. The implications of uncovering this web spun with deception loomed over her like storm clouds. And as dread mixed with expectation, she knew that soon, she would face a confrontation far more dangerous than any she had encountered. Would she find the courage to meet the challenge head-on? The tension between fear and determination hung heavy in the air. As she drove away from headquarters, Sara could feel the pivotal moment approaching. The real question lingered in her mind. What would the fallout be when she brought the truth to light? The next morning, the sun filtered through Sara's kitchen window, casting geometric patterns across her countertop. She absently flipped through the pages of a legal journal as the weight of her mission pressed heavily on her chest. The news alert from the previous night reverberated in her mind, the buzz of impending investigation igniting sparks of trepidation and excitement. Sara brewed her coffee, each bubble in the pot reflecting her racing thoughts. With her laptop open, the murmurs of the BigCo meeting replayed in her mind, dissecting every word that had slipped through the polished veneer of corporate language. She had archived countless reports on safety procedures, documentation that revealed inconsistencies, and unaddressed accidents which had affected employees, not just metrics, but lives. Though daunting, a flicker of ambition danced within her. This was not solely investigative work, it was personal. It was her responsibility to amplify voices that had been muffled, to reveal truths obscured by layers of corporate bureaucracy. To do this, she would need to build a strategic plan that connected the dots she had observed. Sipping her coffee, a guiding thought crystallized. She grabbed her notebook and jotted down the key points about the corporate executives. Hesitant words, defensive body language, shifting glances. Sara felt she had power. The power to expose their truths. She could become the bridge between hidden stories and public awareness. But with that empowerment came uncertainty. Every move had to be deliberate. As she began to draft her strategy, she envisioned reaching out to whistleblowers, former employees with first-hand knowledge of BigCo's dark corners. However, finding willing sources in a tangled game of corporate loyalty would not be easy. In a world driven by fear of retaliation, her courage would need to inspire trust. Finding the contact information of a few former employees took her into the murky waters of social media and professional networks. Hours melted away as she combed through posts, scouring for hints of discontent. She remembered a colleague, a former compliance officer recently disgruntled with the state of their protocol. Connecting with him could pave the way for the testimony she needed, but as she prepared to reach out, fear gripped her. What if they were too embedded in the fear? The instinct to bury inconvenient truths ran deep within corporate culture. What if she jeopardized their safety, her own integrity? The stakes demanded that she tread carefully. Taking a deep breath, Sara pressed send. The message felt bold, as if she were launching an arrow into the unknown. As the minutes crawled by, she experienced an intoxicating mixture of anxiety and anticipation. Would he respond? If he did, could she trust him to deliver the kind of information she sought? A chime broke the silence. It was a reply. Her heart raced as she opened the message, scanning quickly for signs of cooperation or resistance. The words on the screen bore a mixture of annoyance and clarity, revealing shadows of a scandal she hadn't entirely expected. She was on the verge, another piece of the puzzle aligning itself. Determination surged within her, but beneath it lay a raw thread of doubt. The reality that she was now tangling herself further into BigCo's web sparked questions about her own motives. Was she merely chasing accolades for uncovering the truth, or did her heart reside with those she sought to help? With every interaction, her resolve felt both imperative and terrifying. As darkness fell outside, Sara felt the urgency grow, a fire igniting her purpose. The investigation loomed, and each moment counted. She could no longer operate with mere observation. She needed to act decisively, align her findings with indisputable evidence. The tension coiled inside her, urging her onward. The gods of truth and consequence held their breath. In the coming days, she would either stand as a beacon of hope or risk being crushed by the very machine she sought to expose. One thing was certain. She was no longer alone in this fight. Yet how far she was willing to go remained uncertain. To confront BigCo's reality and protect the people mattered now more than anything. The time had come to face her fears head-on, and in that moment, she felt the swelling tide of change within. But could she navigate the treacherous waters she had dared to disturb? The next move would determine everything. As the dawn broke the following day, the sky turned a brilliant hue of orange, casting a warm glow in Sara's office. The heaviness of her decision the previous night lingered, but there was also a spark of clarity. Today was not just about gathering information. It was about transforming her knowledge into action. She had a bridge to build, and her first step was to reach out again. With a deep breath, Sara opened her laptop and carefully reviewed the correspondence from the compliance officer. Each line crawled under her skin as she considered the implications of everything he had shared. There was a delicate balance she had to strike. The more she delved, the closer she danced with danger, both for him and herself. Despite her growing determination, confidence wavered like a pendulum caught in the wind. To ensure she gleaned the most pertinent information, she created a list of questions. They weren't just about facts. They were about the human cost of decisions made behind the facade of corporate compliance. Every potential whistleblower, every story she could uncover and amplify represented a life impacted. This was personal, and she felt the weight on her shoulders. Her phone chimed again. It was a message from the compliance officer encouraging a chat over coffee instead of a lengthy email exchange. The suggestion thrilled and terrified her at once. Meeting in person meant reading body language, sensing discomfort or resolve in a way digital communication obscured. She accepted, trembling with anticipation at the thought of stepping into someone else's truth. The meeting was set for that afternoon at a coffee shop halfway between them. As she prepared, her mind raced with rehearsed phrases and potential objections he may have. How could she frame her intentions to spark trust without overstepping? The stakes were too high for carelessness, and she needed to focus on establishing an environment where he would feel secure enough to speak openly. When the time arrived, she put on a blouse that felt professional yet approachable. It was subtle, a signal that she was neither naive nor overbearing. The cafe buzzed with chatter, but her heartbeat drowned out the noise. As she entered, she spotted him seated near the window, a hesitant smile catching her eye. He looked more like a distressed survivor than a co-conspirator. The human element of this investigation was more profound than she had anticipated. "Thanks for meeting with me," she began, settling across from him. Her voice was steady, but her palms grew clammy. "I appreciate your willingness to talk. I know it must be hard." He nodded, and for a while they exchanged small talk that slowly morphed into serious discussions about his time at BigCo. Memory scrolled through his eyes like news footage, business decisions leading to real hardship, layers of bureaucracy shielding the truth. Each revelation exposed not just the company's failings but the excruciating toll on its workers' lives. She listened intently, absorbing the details while trying to gauge his willingness to commit to reveal more. As the conversation deepened, she felt herself shifting. The fear of exposure began to morph into pure determination. This was her purpose, her mission, and there was no turning back. Each moment together solidified her resolve to be a champion for those unable to speak for themselves. Her mind raced with how she could leverage this information moving forward. Balancing the scales of justice was no easy feat, yet she felt increasingly capable of navigating the tricky terrain that lay ahead. But even as the conversation closed, his demeanor shifted. A shadow crossed his face. "Sara, I want to help, but I'm terrified. What if they find out?" His fear echoed through her, a chilling reminder of the world they operated in. Then we prepare ourselves, she replied, meeting his gaze with steely confidence. We can do this the right way. Together. But deep down, doubts murmured. Was she really preparing for the weighty consequences this journey would demand? What sacrifices awaited her? This was no longer just about exposing the truth. It was about protecting those who dared to bring it forward. As they left the cafe, the sun cast long shadows, mirroring the uncertainties that loomed over her. Sara felt the momentum build as she embraced her role. Each conversation, each piece of evidence was not just data. It was a life at stake, a future that needed to be fought for. The path ahead became sharper but also darker. What allies would she have when the storm began? That question gnawed at her as she stepped out into the world, and new revelations hung in the air, waiting to unfold. Across the horizon, shadows lengthened. The moment to confront BigCo was approaching. Would she have the courage to unveil the truth, or would it unravel her spirit in the process? The stakes were perilously high, and as her mission solidified, the silence whispered back, a chilling promise of resistance. The following day, as the sun cast its glow on Sara's familiar office, she felt an unusual stillness wash over her. The whirlwind of the past weeks, saturated with courage and revelations, had coalesced into a singular purpose. Today, she would confront BigCo Groceries. Sara sat at her desk, meticulously reviewing notes and evidence, pieces of a vast puzzle that she had painstakingly assembled. Each document she had collected, from customer testimonies to the compliance officer's insights, was not merely a file. They represented lives intertwined in the fabric of struggle and resilience. With grim determination, she scheduled a presentation for her supervisors, feeling the anticipation electric in the air. This wasn't just a meeting, it was an opportunity to bring forth the truth that could shake the very foundations of corporate misconduct. She needed them to see what was at stake, not only the financial ramifications, but the moral duty they had to the community they served. The conference room felt colder than usual as her colleagues gathered for the presentation. They filled their seats, shuffling papers, their curiosity palpable. Yet among them lay doubt, hesitation, that swirled in their gazes, reflecting the weight of what Sara would reveal. But she dismissed their skepticism with a steely resolve echoing within her. "Thank you for being here today," she began, her voice steady, cutting through the murmurs. "Today I won't just present numbers, I'll present lives affected by the actions of BigCo Groceries as well as the evidence I have gathered." With every slide she illuminated discrepancies, overcharges, misled promotions, and intertwined each fact with stories that breathed life into them. The testimonies she had documented echoed through the room, sending shivers down the spines of her colleagues. This was no longer just corporate fraud but a collective cry for justice. As she delved into the whistleblower's findings regarding hidden safety violations, she could feel the atmosphere shift. The tension grew more palpable, each heartbeat matching her pulse. She shared the fear and desperation felt by workers within BigCo's walls, their stories woven into a narrative that transcended mere statistics. Gradually, she noticed expressions change among her audience, skepticism folding into disbelief, disbelief shifting towards recognition. They were beginning to understand that the stakes were vital, and she became the voice they needed to hear. "Every day we each have a choice," she concluded, standing tall, her heart pounding with raw conviction. "We can choose compliance or integrity. Today, I ask you to stand with me in choosing what is right." The silence lingered for what felt like an eternity, until Emily, a senior partner, finally spoke. "Sara, this information is outstanding, but do you realize the implications? BigCo won't take this lightly." In that moment, she stood firm, unwavering. "I'm aware, but we owe it to our community to act. If we remain silent, we become complicit in their deceit." A ripple of murmurs flowed through the room, each colleague revisiting their own ambivalence. As discussions ignited among them, Sara felt clarity sweeping over her. She was no longer an isolated attorney caught between ambition and ethics. She had become a catalyst for transformation. In the following weeks, her efforts began to bear fruit. Meetings with those in power within the firm materialized, leading to strategic actions taken against BigCo. Legislative inquiries were initiated, illuminating previously concealed practices that violated consumer trust. Sara's courage inspired many, unearthing a movement that demanded corporate accountability and consumer rights. But amid her accomplishments, introspection flourished within her. Every success resurrected echoes of vulnerability, the waxing and waning of self-doubt that she had battled. She discovered newfound confidence as a leader, advocating for those silenced by giants. Raising awareness became her mission, a cause woven deep within her identity, transcending the confines of career ambition. Finally, the public outcry erupted, leading to news coverage that captured not only the scandal but also Sara's journey. She found herself standing in front of the cameras, sharing vulnerable snippets of her motivation. The community she had feared losing welcomed her back with open arms, a reminder of how far she had come. Through the chaos, hard-earned recognition wrapped around her, validating her sacrifice. She had found her voice, not just for herself but for everyone who yearned for integrity in an inhospitable world. As she navigated the tumultuous waters of exposure, the glimmer of personal achievement radiated brighter than any professional accolade. She had exposed the truth, but more importantly, she had reclaimed her identity. The quiet resolve of Sara Dawson emerged, a champion not just against corporate greed but for the community that raised her. In this triumph, Sara felt a profound satisfaction ebbing through her veins. She was no longer just an attorney. She was an advocate, resilient, and recognized. The last remnants of doubt faded into the horizon, replaced by an unwavering belief in her purpose. Now was the time for others to understand the significance of supporting her journey. Join Sara in this extraordinary chapter of transformation, for inspiration lies in every courageous step. So subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and support Sara's powerful fight for justice. Comment your reactions and theories about this inspiring conclusion, because your voice matters. And share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this uplifting story of courage and transformation. You need to show your support now. Don't wait even one more second to share and uplift others on their own journeys.